It's a brand new edition of Flyers Daily and a very special edition of Flyers Daily, and it's always brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. To talk about the first quarter of the season and much more, General Manager Daniel Briere joins us right now. Danny, how are you?
Hi, Jason. Good. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Let's start off kind of with your impressions of what you've kind of seen so far this season, because it's been very yin and yang. It's been pretty good, really good at points, and underwhelming at others.
Yeah, we've had already just a quarter of the way in, a very up and down first quarter. All kinds of things. And if you look individually, a lot of the players have had the same kind of start as well. We're trying to find a little bit more consistency. I thought we had been playing better of late, but the starting on the road wasn't easy. And then coming out of the road trip, we just couldn't get our footing. But I feel better about the team now. I feel we're in a better place. It's starting to pay off, although we, just in the last week faced two really good teams in Colorado and Carolina. And it shows you we're not quite there yet as far as when we're talking about contenders. We still have a lot of work left to get up to that status.
Were you surprised coming out of camp that the process element of it, the structure, was kind of the thing that was broken? Because that's been something the team has leaned on the last couple of years. And I assume that's what you're talking about when you say things are looking better. The process has definitely been better for the most part.
Yeah, it was. We looked a little disjointed as a team for some reason to start the season. We were giving up a lot more chances than we had done. I guess when we were in a good spot last year. So we expected a little better start this year, but it took our guys a little longer to get going, and that's what scares me. We hear the rumblings and the rumors that possibly we'll shave down some preseason games. Well, it's a little scary because the players, I feel, need the extra time to get into game condition, and we certainly saw it on our end.
Let's discuss some of the positives because you've got a good amount of them. Let's talk first about Travis Sanheim. Danny, I didn't see this coming. His development and the way he's handled things since his name was out there that offseason has been really remarkable. He still doesn't say much, but what he says, I think, has real impact. You can really feel his leadership. What has been your impressions of Travis Sanheim so far?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's been impressive. It's been fun to watch him develop the way he has in the last two seasons. It's almost when Ivan Provorov left, and we were wondering who could take the reins on defense, and if Travis would be up for it. He really took that to heart and decided that he was going to be the leader back there. It's been fun to watch, exciting to watch, and he just keeps getting better and better. Last year he took a huge step, and we thought, okay, this is now who Travis has become. Can he sustain it? And coming into the season, we were hoping that he'd be able to, show some consistency and have another strong year. Well, he's been even better than we expected.
If raised the bar.
Yeah. So it's exciting. I mean, now what's the ceiling for him? He's already passed what we expected the ceiling to be. So where does he go? I hope he's part of Team Canada at the Four Nations tournament. He's definitely earned it. He's so versatile too for us, and that's the impressive part. He can play left or right. He can kill penalties. We don't play him on the power play at the moment because he'd have to play about 45 minutes a night, and I don't know if that's possible. I'm sure he played a little bit of it last game. That's probably another area, but at some point you can't have him on the ice the whole night. He can kill penalties. He can play against the top lines opposition every night. His versatility is really what has thrust him into being such a dominant player this season.
The thing about him too, Danny, I've seen D-men over the years that play a lot of minutes, whether it was Scott Niedermeyer or Drew Doughty, they could economize their energy. Travis doesn't economize. He is all over the ice. He is goal line to goal line.
Yeah,
He'll
he
kill a
plays.
play, lead the rush. Kill a play, join the
Yeah,
rush. Yeah, it's
yeah,
just remarkable. How about
and he's
Konecny?
been physical
Okay,
too. Don't forget how
yep.
physical he's been.
He's at that muscle.
Yeah, and the 15, 20 pounds extra that he put on the previous summer really helps him out. But yeah, on top of skating as much as he does in a game, his physicality has taken a huge step also.
Yeah. Let's talk about Konecny, because I always wonder, Danny, after a player signs that contract, the contract that's
Yeah,
going to set you up for the rest of your life, it really tells me a lot about the guy in there and what's in their belly, how they come back after that. Because some
yeah,
guys go, I got paid, I'm good, so they can let off a little bit. And in this business, if you let off a little bit, it's a huge difference. TK certainly has not seemed to have done that. He is off to a great start. And talk about another guy that's got a lot of ownership of that room, and wants this to go in the right direction and lead the way.
yeah, absolutely. He's been the leader offensively. We know he gets under other team's skin. He shows up. He's 100% every single game, and that was never an issue for us when we were negotiating, with his camp as far as extending him to a long-term deal. There's no worries on our end, as far as would he show up, would he take a step back, would he just relax and be happy with the money. That never crossed our mind. Is more about finding the right number that worked for everyone. But he's been better than what he's shown, and that's exciting for the future. He's going to be a leader for us. And he's going to be part of what we're trying to build, and the culture and the hardworking mentality that we're bringing here.
And if you do things right, you get rewarded. You earn it, and you should get rewarded. Let me ask you about Matvei, because the numbers are pretty eye-popping. I believe, Danny, you like to score from down low at times and in weird situations, but I think he's going to lead the league in goals from feet below the goal line for sure. He believes he can score from anywhere. What has been your impressions of Matvei so far?
I think my the biggest thing that we don't talk enough about is his competitiveness, how strong he is on the puck. He's been very, very impressive from the top of the circle down. No doubt about that. I think everybody knew that, but I didn't realize how competitive and how strong on the puck he is as a player, and that's very exciting for the future. Now, yes, there's a lot of things he needs to learn and he's working on, and but I love the demeanor he wants. And if you watch him, and Torts and his coaching staff are trying to show him the defensive side of things, and you watch him, like he's really putting an effort into it, and he's trying to get in the lane. I was watching him back check last game, and he's finding his guy. He's looking all around in a defensive zone. Now, maybe sometimes there's the wrong read here and there, but he's really trying. He's trying to get in the lanes to block shots. So that's all part of his competitiveness. He wants to be the best. He wants to show everyone that he's the best. But we already know that from the top of the circle down, he's a pretty special player.
His adjustment is obviously on and off the ice. There's a lot of elements to it coming over as a 19-year-old, learning the language and the culture and everything else. Does having a player of his stature and importance, both now and long term, and dealing with all of the adjustments, does that take more bandwidth kind of from everybody, from you as a front office and the coaching staff? I imagine it does, because the importance of his proper development is paramount.
Yeah, and he comes in, he's got so much to learn on top of the hockey side of things, but outside of it, with the language and the culture and getting used to how things are being done here in North America. It's a big adjustment, and he's got so many people in his ear trying to help him out and trying to show him the right way. He's got a lot on his plate, and that's why I was so happy that we got to have him at such an early age. when we drafted him, we were okay with the plan, 3 more years over there. But when that door opened, I think it's a huge advantage to have him early, to learn how things go here, how we live our life, and then on the ice, having a coach like John Tortorella, who's demanding and he's tough on his players, but he also gets to mold him and show him what it is to be a great player and a great teammate and part of the culture. I think this is a huge positive for us moving forward when we move along the way and we get better and better as a team. Matvei will be out of that initial phase of trying to learn all these steps along the way. He'll be much more advanced. So it's a big positive to have him come here so early.
Huge accelerator for sure. Let's talk about the injury bug, because it's gotten you guys a little bit early here, whether that's Sam Ersson, who is day-to-day right now with that lower body injury, came back for the one game, performed really well, and then is back out. I'm assuming you're being very cautious with that, with the remaining amount of schedule you have on your plate. Plus, you're getting pretty good goaltending from the other two guys.
Yeah, and that obviously helps when you're getting, first of all, we have two other guys that have shown that they can carry the load for now. That helps. That helps our coaches kind of put the brakes on and really give Sam the chance to heal properly and make sure there's no more setbacks. I don't know if that was the case in the first place. It's tough to tell, but it's a nice advantage to have three guys now.
You and I have talked about, you love, and I do as well, the notion of goaltenders having to compete for the position, compete for the crease. There's only one of them only one plays in a game. And I don't know whether to attribute Fedotov's kind of turnaround from the first 3 games where he really struggled into what he's done the last 4. Maybe it's a combination of getting comfortable, but also that competitive element of having to compete. Kolosov coming up his butt now, and you got Sam Ersson, and there's opportunity.
Yeah, and when they're all healthy, all 3 realize that there's only one net per game. So it's good. And in Ivan's case, the competitiveness that he's shown in his last 3 or 4 starts has been a real positive. I think early on, the nerves, not knowing really how to handle it, and being new to the game the way it's played here, I think had him on his heel a little too much. But I've really liked his last, I think it's his last 4 starts where he's had a few wins, even the other night against Carolina. The fight and the battle that he showed was really good to see, and it was good for his teammates also to see that he deserved a better fate in that game, because he kept us in that game for a long time.
Actually, your old teammate, Dominic, I summoned Dominic Hasek when he threw that 2-pad stack and then dove back in, and it's so unorthodox. But you're right, he's just competing his butt off. Maybe it was just as simple as trying to figure out, is he seeing what he's seeing? And you got to adjust to the way they attack you here. Let me ask you about your D, because you got Drysdale out, you got York out day to day, but Emil Andre came in, and unfortunately he's injured right now. But Emil really complicates things for you, maybe in some way, in a good way.
In a good way, yes.
Yeah, because he's performed so well. You'd love to be put to those decisions. When everybody does, God willingly, get healthy, how do you kind of handle this situation? You're going to face it, hopefully, at some point, but how do you kind of approach it?
Yeah, well, it's always tough. The plans, we have plans in place, but they always change, it seems. There's always injuries, and then it depends on the play of the players that we mentioned. But Emil has been a great story coming in. We thought he had a great camp, really stepped up in camp. We liked him, but we didn't have the roster spots early on. We want him to play games. But he's stepped in now, and he looks like a veteran. I love his competitiveness. He's hard to play against, and he's been making plays. And that's what Torts promotes. He wants guys to try to make plays, and he has. He's been a difference maker. So we have to find a way to keep him in the lineup as long as he's performing the way he has.
When you watch him, you just look at him, you go, his awareness of everything just seems to be right on top of it. He really
Yeah.
knows where everybody is and isn't afraid to push and make a play. And that's rare for a young guy like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's always had to play this way because he's a smaller D man. He always had to outsmart the opposition, and he's competitive. That's probably the most impressive part of his game is how hard he is. He steps in front of guys, he gives it to guys for his size, and that's been very impressive. So his competitiveness is contagious as well. We love seeing that, but he's got to keep outsmarting the opposition, making plays, and he's been excellent on the power play as well for us. So, it's been a great story so far this year, and for the future, having a young defenseman taking over like that is exciting.
And you can identify with him, can't you?
Absolutely, you
He's got a little
understand
bite
what
to his game too. Like you had some
he's
bite.
got some, yes, and a lot of the times you look at a guy like TK,
Yep.
not the biggest guy, but he's tough to play against. He gets again under the opposition's skin. It's great to see, and that's what makes us tough to face and tough to play against.
Let me ask you about Morgan Frost because he's been out of the lineup. And he's been a slow starter over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I thought he had a pretty good preseason, got off to a decent start initially with some power play help for you guys. But where are we with Morgan Frost, and how do you kind of approach this situation? Because, like, you've been in a situation, sometimes you just need a fresh start. Is there too much scar tissue here? Is he in his own head too much? Where do we kind of go with this situation right now? Because you do lack center depth.
Yeah, he's gonna get back in the lineup. He sat the last two games. It's never fun. I get it, but you know, we have 23 guys here healthy, and there's always three guys that are getting scratched every night. And unfortunately, you got to fight for your ice. That's the competitive side. It's good to have that competition that we mentioned earlier, and Morgan has showed in the past that he's not afraid of it. He responds well to that. So I expect the same thing again from him. When he has a chance to get back in the lineup, he's going to compete for his ice. Just like anybody would. Bobby Brink was scratched. Tyson Forster was scratched. Matvei Michkov was scratched before this year. And, they all responded really well. And I expect the same thing from Morgan.
Do you give him any kind of advice, just kind of to free his own mind sometimes, and to kind of like going through it is difficult? Yeah. And you're a guy that you were waived early in your career.
Yeah, and well, Morgan and I have had a lot of discussions in the past. And I started in player development. He was the first guy I worked with, just because of the similarities of play. So I've known him for a long time. We've had a lot of discussions. We talked about it the last 3 or 4 years about how to manage different situations. So he's got the tools to deal with it. He knows what needs to be done. He's a total pro, and I remember last year when it happened, we had the talk, and he looked at me. He's like, "Danny, I know what I need to do. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm going to wait for my chance, and I'll take it." And he did that last year. And that's why when I say I expect the same thing, he's got the tools mentally to deal with this. He's been faced with the same adversity in the past, and he came out of it really well. So he's gonna be right back, and I expect him to be a difference maker again.
Danny, how is it? I'm going to go back to your playing days. I think everything when you start a season is magnified. If you get off to a good start and then you have a period in the middle of it where you struggle, it feels probably different than it does at the beginning.
Absolutely,
some guys,
you're right.
That have gotten off to slow starts, and is that magnified on the player just because it's the beginning of the year?
Absolutely, and especially when you go through a little stretch where it's tough, and we didn't start the way we probably wanted to or expected to. Like you said, it gets magnified right away, and that's why Matvei was singled out at one point. Bobby Brink, Tyson, now Morgan. Different guys have been the focus of towards his approach early on. But like I said, I'm not worried about Morgan. I know he's been able to do it in the past, and I expect the same thing.
What kind of philosophically your thoughts on where you guys are in this build up with the the long term really as the focus? Where are you kind of philosophically on making moves in season? 'Cause I imagine the phones are ringing already because GMs in the
Oh yeah.
league earlier
Yep.
and earlier every year want to start making moves. And look, you're an attractive guy to call, not because you're good looking, but because you got a lot of first round picks. You got a lot. You're an attractive GM to have conversations with.
Yes, absolutely. And because we have a lot of assets, not just the picks. We have 3 firsts, 3 seconds
Yep.
this year. It's yes, absolutely. But we have a lot of good young players as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some veterans that some of the teams trying to make a push are interested into. So yes, the phones have been working a lot. And I would say probably in the last 7 to 10 days, it's really picked up that way. Usually it's right around Thanksgiving, maybe a little earlier this year. For some reason, some teams were magnified. We all know who they are. There's been some changes here and there on different teams. But yeah, already there's some talks. Now, I don't know if it'll amount to anything, but my job, and I always say my job as a GM is to listen, inquire, and ask questions. And if there's something that makes more sense, then we'll act on it.
But it has to check that box of being not for just this season, but for being going down the road as well.
Absolutely, we're still in that mode. And I've told all the other GMs, I'm not interested in, a player loan just to finish the season or make a push to get back into the playoffs pool. We're still looking long term for us. What's interesting, it has to make sense 3, 4, 5 years down the road when we're a better team and we're competing for a Stanley Cup.
Last thing for you, when you're looking at potential guys that maybe are on the last year of a deal or they're going to be a UFA, knowing the culture that you have here in Philadelphia, the facilities you have here, do you feel more comfortable saying, okay, I'll go after a guy and I'll make him love us and not want to leave, and then we'll sign him? Do you look at that with considering all those different elements?
Oh yeah, we look at everything. Absolutely. And I think our culture and our room has really taken a sharp turn in the last year and a half, and that's really encouraging. But and that's a credit to players like Mark Stahl, who came and helped us with that. Eric Johnson this year, signed on to help in that matter. Guys like Garnet Hathaway and Nick Delorier have been a big help. So we're definitely going in that right direction, and it helps the young guys, but we're not closed off to anything at this point.
Yeah, I just remember when Drysdale came in last year, the amount of inclusion that he got right away from everybody. I mean, they're like, you're coming to Mexico during the break. Like, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, they just got him into the group and a real tight bond with those young players as well. So,
and we have a young team. We're one of the youngest team in the NHL. That's encouraging, but that's why it's also enticing for GMs to call us.
Yeah, no doubt. Danny, have a great holiday. Really appreciate this. We'll be following along as closely as ever, and we'll see how this thing kind of germinates, the roller coaster ride of a season.
The ups and downs. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Talk soon.